Let's go. Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Diana. Thanks, Dzmitry. And once again, welcome you all to the UiPath Community's Michigan chapter, our very first session. It's going to be like an amazing content on document understanding and how it's being used along with AI in the manufacturing industry. So Sebastian will give us like more insight into like how it's used on the industrial end, and I'll show you like what the AI products that are available and mainly focus on the document understanding for today. Um, and let's take a look at it. So for today, our learning objectives are going to be like taking a look at like what are the different products that are available in terms of AI from UiPath standpoint and what's document understanding. And we'll have a look at like what the framework looks like and how you would implement it in different stages using the framework, and what are the different products that are associated with the document understanding process. So whenever you see me referring DU, that simply means document understanding. So it's just an acronym. All right. And at any point in time, if you do have any questions, please feel free to use the chat and we'll be happy to get back to your questions. Okay. So very first thing that we want to see is what the UiPath offers in terms of the AI products. So the UiPath AI platform is a wide variety. Like, let me minimize this maybe. That way you can see it. So as you can see, this has a large range of products to choose from. So as you know, the AI is the buzzword right now, and RPA and AI make the power couple of the moment. So Graham Sheldon, who's the chief product officer, he says that AI without automation is like the brain without the body. So that's a funny note, but as we can see, like AI-powered automations are more versatile because this brings into play, like you can do any type of customization because like each organization have their own like intellectual property and like they have their own style of processing things. So each process varies by organization and by sector and industry. So depending on that, the AI could be specialized and custom tailored to those specific processes, which is where like over here you see the specialized AI, because depending on the process, you could take a look at the documents, the screens, and the processes. So you could bring your own model or like you could build one using UiPath. And the current trend is with generative AI, which is also supported by UiPath, where you would see like all the different like, like ChatGPT or like any other GPTs that are available, like OpenAI, Cloud, AWS, all of these are available. And in terms of the solutions itself, like there are like various solutions, and we are trying to address the problems that are currently available in the market. So mainly like with HR, with finance, like with all these industries, we have like we all deal with documents on a daily basis. So which is where document understanding comes into play. And there's AI Center, which is the area where it controls like all the models and the packages, and it primarily focuses on like building your solution. So it's a one-stop shop where you can actually look at like all the processes and projects that are involved with AI there. And communications mining is another area where it looks at like all the emails or like any type of communications that you're using to understand like what the problem areas are or what the process model is like, and then use that to build your own solution. And clipboard AI is an easy copy paste. Everybody does copy paste on a daily basis. So which is where the clipboard AI comes into play. And there's process mining and task mining, and at last the studio as well. And all these are like built on top of like the basic infrastructure, which is like the integration service, and there's like fine tuning that needs to be done for your AI. All that is placed your foundation into the AI platform. So the next thing that we are going to look at is like we are going to look at one specific problem for today, which is addressing the documents, right? So most companies that operate, they process tons of document on a regular basis, and pretty much like everybody has been doing this manually. And lately they've been looking into like AI, how AI can help, which processing manually these documents can like really take a toll on their efficiency and like the overall turnover. So which is why like they are facing this big challenge of like growing the company and having more productive results. So this is a huge challenge, and processing these documents can also result in a lot of errors, and it increases the risk in terms of compliance or missed information or any type of procedures as well, which is where the document understanding comes into play, and it gives you like an overall sorry, there we go, which is where the document understanding is the solution that comes into play, where it does it on an automatic basis, where you can incorporate this into your RPA processes and make it like AI powered. So here's the definition of what is document understanding. So document understanding basically is the solution to help you read those documents and incorporate it with your RPA processes and put it with like all the different processes that you have. So like upstream, you may have like several areas where you might get the documents from, and then like you get the information from those documents and you give the output, which is like whatever you have extracted now, to the RPA process to perform the actual actions. So as you can see in this diagram, like document understanding becomes like a combination of the RPA and the general document processing, which is the core, and it comes with the AI capabilities where it can like automatically like identify fields, and it can automatically classify like what type of documents these are, because like sometimes it's really hard for robots to see, and which is where like the artificial intelligence comes into play, where it can easily like help you like extract and classify all this information. And from the challenges that we saw, like, like it had like reduced productivity, and it had like a lot of inefficiencies, which is where the document understanding comes with the benefit of like accelerated productivity, where it increases the speed at which you process these documents. And obviously, when you use the robots, you're going to have like reduced risk of running into errors, which gives you the higher rate of accuracy. And this gives you a better customer experience, so that like there's a lot of not a lot of hand holding, because like then the documents get processed really faster, so that you could get to understand what the customer really needs. And then you also have the happy employees, because now they don't have to deal with processing the documents manually anymore. So any questions so far? And again, feel free to use this chat at any point in time, and there's no such thing as silly question, so I'd always encourage any questions that you might have. And when we are using the document understanding, it comes with a framework. So like UiPath has made it very simple and easy for us to like pick up something as simple as a template and use it immediately. So these are like ready to go templates that are available for you to use. So here's a high level overview of what a document understanding framework would look like. So the very first step is to like collect all the documents that you're trying to process, because first you need to understand what is the goal or the scope of the process that you're trying to automate here. So the first thing is like identify and receive all the different types of documents and get them in like various different formats and different types of files, like be it images, PDFs, like pictures, like photographs, and have them with like varying styles and formats as well. And then like you need to understand, here's the understanding part where like the document processing actually happens, which is the AI power processing. It has like multiple different steps that we are going to take a look at. It's going to digitize, classify, and all that. And it also comes with a human in the loop step, where you're not letting the process like completely go through, where you can have the SMEs or the business folks take a look at like what the results are, or like if it needs like modifications or validations in terms of like helping the documents become better, because that helps the AI model train into a better process. And once you have the results, then you need to act upon the actual results, right? Now that you have extracted value from those documents, you can use that in your UiPath automations. So you can like forward it to the next level, which is the RPA process, and that gets fed into the automations as inputs. Okay. Oh. And so if we take a look at the framework on a deeper level, these are the very basic steps that you would look at. So the very first step that we would take a look at would be loading the taxonomy. So like the framework comes like as a template, or you could build it on your own, but these are the steps. If you were to build it on your own, these are the steps that you might want to have in order to get the desired results. Okay, so the very first step that we're going to do is load the taxonomy. So the taxonomy is basically the blueprint or the structure of the document. What is it that you're trying to get out of your document? So let's say you have a receipt. Okay, out of the receipt, you want the name of the place, the date, the amount, and the tax or like subtotal and the items. So if these are the items that you want from the receipt, from that specific document, you need to define that in your taxonomy and set the files, because that's going to tell your files like what to look for. Because whenever you load a document, it's going to have a ton of information, but you want specific values from it. So that's where you define the taxonomy. The second step would be to digitize the document. So in whatever format that you give the document, it's going to take it into a form, digitize it, and make it into simple text and its location. So that way, like the robot can process it. And then the next step would be to classify it. Now that you've uploaded a document, you want receipts. But like, what if you have uploaded, like, let's say an expense report, or like you have uploaded like an insurance form? So you need to understand what these documents are, because like in the input, anybody can upload any type of document. So here's where like you classify. If your process has a diverse variety of documents, here's where you classify so that it could use a specific extractor type. And then the next step would be to extract the data. So now that you have classified what type of document it is, based on the classification, you can define what type of extractor to use. So for like structured documents, you want to use like a forms-based extractor, or for like semi-structured, you would go for like rules-based or like the ML-based extractors. And for like there's no structure and like you want to extract, then you would still use like the machine learning extractors. So that way you get the specific results that you would want. And there are like a very like extensive type of extractors that are out of the box available from the AI Center, which you could pick and choose from. And this depends on like the invoice types, the receipts types, or like it could be like any type of accord forms or like insurance forms. All these different types of out of the box extractors are available for you to pick and choose from. So you just need to configure them and use them in your templates in your model. Okay. And then once you have extracted the information, there are two things that happens. Either the results are very good or it needs like some type of correction. So which is where like you can validate those results. So there's two ways to do this. You can, if you're using an attended automation, you would present a validation station where you would give it to your attended users and ask them if that data that it had exported is correct or not. So this is where the human in the loop part comes into picture, where the human that does the day-to-day job knows exactly what data they are looking for. Or let's say like the OCR was like, let's say the form that was like given out was folded, or somehow like the data is a little skewed, or like something happens, which is where like the person can validate it, or if there's like missing information that the person can actually input it. So for the attended, you would use the validation station, and for the unattended, you could actually use the action centers. So that's another capability that comes where like the humans who actually does the job on an unattended mode, they can just go to the action center, validate those documents, and it gets sent back to the RPA process, which actually processes these documents. And once it's done, then the data is now given to export. You can like choose like what type of export you want to do. You can have it in CSV forms and it gets uploaded or it gets sent back to the AI model for training as well. So I know these were the basic steps. So if you remember these 6 steps, this is going to be like, and again, like you don't have to remember because this comes with a template. All you need to know is like how to configure and what type of documents that you're looking for. So any questions so far? No questions. I take that like you all understood. All right. So now we will take a deeper look into like what the process looks like, right? So you have understood like what the framework looks like and the different stages that are available inside the framework. Because this piece that we just talked about, the framework happens within the studio, and that is just like where you are building it. But when it comes to like execution, which is like production level, like where you are using it in runtime, these are the different products that gets involved in the DU process. So as you can see on the upper section, the orange section is the design time products. Okay, so you build your process using the studio, where you use the document understanding process template, and you install the necessary packages that are involved, and you define the taxonomy manager. Like I said, the taxonomy is going to help you understand what are the different fields that you're going to have and different rules that you're going to set up. Okay, so that's where the taxonomy. So all of this is being done in the studio. So which is where like we initialize, like we start the whole document understanding process. Okay, now that it's been designed, the next step that you would do is to digitize these documents. And again, this happens within Studio as well, like where you would assign like what type of OCR that you're going to use, or like what type of like, like what type of OCR to make sure that it's being read. And the default that we all use is the UiPath document OCR, which is really good when compared to like the other OCRs as well. And there are like varied OCRs. You could use the Microsoft, the Abby, and just remember like whichever OCR like to configure it correctly. And that's definitely customizable. And then the next step happens is the classifier and the extractor, where you could actually like select which document, because like you could have a document that has like, let's say like an invoice and W2 form, like it has like multiple different documents. In that case, that's where the classifier would help you split up those files according to the document type itself. So there's your classifier and the extractor, which can be like built and trained using the AI center. So you can actually like look up like your classifiers and extractors that you're using for your process in the AI center. And this gives like the specialized AI professionals like to an idea to look at like, how do you retrain this model? How do you make this better? All of this is handled from here. And here's where your document understanding also comes into play. And then happens the outflow, where you extract the output. And as you're classifying, you have to retrain. Remember, like where I said, like if you are not sure, like if there's like merged documents, and if the process actually classifies these different documents, it can still validate. And you can specify at what point in time, like what is the confidence level that you want to see based on the validation. So if the confidence is too high, maybe you don't need to validate, because now you know that you trust the AI model to like process it further to the extractor. But if you do want to validate, you can actually send it to the action center here. So as you can see at the bottom, there's the action center, which gets like, once it's validated, it sends it to the AI center to retrain that model. Because like you don't have to keep validating the same document over and over again. Once you teach the AI model to like look at like what the process is looking for, then it gets like trained on that. Okay. And the same goes for extractor as well. Again, you will validate using the action center, and it gets sent to the AI center to retrain it. Okay. And at runtime, you would use the orchestrator and the robots, where you manage all the packages that you have built so far and execute the automation. So any questions? Good. Okay, so we'll have a quick look at what the template looks like. Okay, I'm going to show you a quick demo. Just a second. I'm going to just stop sharing for a second. Yeah, we'll have Sebastian logging in very soon. So once he comes, like we'll pause the demo for a moment. Okay. Oh, it's the same screen. Yeah, I hope you all can see my screen now.
We can see it.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan.
Mhm.
So in Studio, I'm going to show you like how you can get this document understanding framework, okay? The template that we were talking about. So when you open up your studio the very first time you want to start up a process, all you can look at is the new project. And below here in this section, you would see the new from template. If you don't see the document understanding process, just click on more templates and you will see a window that gives you like the option to choose the different templates. Okay. Here it's going to pull up like all the different templates that are offered by UiPath. So this is the process, the template that I just chose. Okay. The document understanding process. When you create that, like you can just like save it, just like your regular process. It comes up with its own template. Okay, just like RE framework. Similar, if you have used like RE framework, similar to that, it comes with its own workflows. It comes with its own modular sections, and it gives you the option to customize as well. So the moment that you create it, these are all the different types of files that you would see. So as you can see here, the template comes with two variations. So you can choose whether you want to go like unattended, which is the action center mode, or you can use the attended using the validation station. Okay. In this case, I'm going to show you the unattended mode, which is the action center. Okay. And we can actually like this process is very, very simple to configure. So you can have a look at like what the process looks like. And when I click on the user guide, it gives you an overview of like what each file means and how to configure it, like in terms of the workflows itself, what are the different workflows that are available and what you would need in terms of input to use it. Okay, so I'll just pull that up. So this is a very good detailed guide, I would say, in terms of like understanding what the template does. So if you're using the document understanding workflow for the very first time, I would say like give it a quick read because this is a really good document that gives you like an overview of like what the process looks like and what are the latest features that have been added. And as they keep updating the template, they also add their release notes in here, which gives you an understanding of like, okay, what are the new features that are available within the template as well. Oh, so this will give you like an overview of like what happens. And like we said, like as you can see, sorry. As you can see, like these are the basic steps within the framework, right? So like you would digitize the document, then the classification happens. And if the classification is successful, it proceeds back to the extractor. If not, it goes to the human in the loop where you would validate the classification, which could go to the action center or to your validation station. And then the next step would be the data extraction. And even here, like if the extracted data was successful, it proceeds to the exporting. Otherwise, it would be sent to the validation using the action center or the validation station. And once it's exported, like you could choose like how the data is being exported and what type you want it. Okay. So this gives you like an overall architecture and gives you an insight into like what the process looks like. So this is a very key diagram that I would always like encourage people to look at. So here's like an end-to-end business process. Maybe it's too small. Let me just zoom in. Oops. Okay, here's the end-to-end business process. So as you can see, the document understanding framework, where you would use it, because like you're trying to process like each document, right? So I would say like first build your upstream process, which is like collecting all the documents, which is gonna be your dispatcher process. So similar to your RE framework, you're gonna have the dispatcher performer style, where you would have the dispatcher adding all the documents to a queue or a location where you would pick each document and process it. Okay. So upstream, you have to build a dispatcher process that gives you all the documents. Okay. And then the next step would be this document understanding template where you would like configure how you want the documents to be processed. Okay. So it's going to run one job for each file. And then once the data has been extracted, then you have a downstream process using the data. What do you want to do? You want it to be uploaded to a different system, or you want it to be written to a file, you want the data to be sent out, that you can build it as a separate process itself. So that's what we call the downstream process. Okay. So when you are designing a solution in terms of the architecture of the solution, this is very key to understanding how your business process works. Okay. And this gives you like a detailed understanding of each workflow, like I said, like what each workflow is doing. So you can always take a look at this user guide that's being given along with the framework. Okay. And here's the Action Center workflow. I've just opened it. And as you can see, like it comes with its own like built-in exception handling as well. So there's very little configuration that needs to happen. All you have to do is like customize how you would want your documents to be processed. Okay, so in this case, like I have like my document here. Like I'm going to show you the document. Oh, sorry. Just want this to get away. I've got the Zoom controls getting in the way. I'm sorry. So I'm going to go to the document understanding. Here's an example document that we are going to process right now. So this is not one single document. This has like multiple documents. So this is like a merged document of varying types. Okay, so here's like a certificate of filing, and it also contains an invoice. It contains a W-9, and it also contains a receipt. So as you can see, like all these are like different types of documents that are available. Okay, so we're going to try to process this document and see how that performs. Okay, I'm going to show you like quickly the classifier alone. And sometimes my studio is a little bit slow, so bear with me. And when I said like, before we move on to the classifier, sorry, I'm just running backwards. The very first step that we talked about was the taxonomy manager. So let's take a look at like what the taxonomy that we need to do. So for the very first time, when you pull up this workflow, this template has already been created. How would you like manage your taxonomy? So up here on this ribbon, you see the taxonomy manager. When you click on that, it's going to give you a window where you can define the types of documents and the fields that you're going to put in. Okay, so in this case, I already have like 3 different document types that we're going to look at. So here is like one document that is going to be like, so first you might want to like create a group. If you don't have like a document or a group, you can actually like go ahead and create a group if you're going to process multiple different document types in the same process. Okay, so in this case, like there are 3 groups that are created, and under each group, you can actually like specify what's the document type and the category name. And then like you can actually specify for each document. Okay, so in this case, let's say for the receipt, we can actually select like what type of field. So these are the different fields that we have. So you can actually add a field and say like, what is my field and what type of field is it? Like, so you can choose like the date or a number, and depending on if it's a table that you want to extract, you can actually select. Okay, I'm just going to hit cancel because all the different fields have already been defined. And once you have defined this, like we are going to like say save. I'm sorry, my window's kind of wonky here. So once you have defined your taxonomy, that plays a key role into knowing like what different fields are going to be extracted. Okay. And I'm just going to show you a quick look at the classifier. Oh, so again, like you don't have to like build everything from scratch. You have a template which is playing the foundational key role here, where you can use this as your foundation, and all you need to do is like configure it. So here they are using the intelligent keyword classifier. And again, like it's already been configured with the API key and all that. And all you would need to do is configure it using your specific document understanding key. So in my case, I'll just show you really quick. I'm just gonna go to the so in the config file. In this case, I have it in my config file. I didn't want to put it elsewhere. So I'm gonna go here. There we go. So these are all the different files, and this takes a look at like all the target key elements. And here they've given us all the different endpoints that are being used for all the machine learning models as well. So you wouldn't have to like put in like too many things. So in this case, like all I did was like I created an asset and I've put my API key in the orchestrator, and you just have to specify the asset name here. So I didn't have to like do a lot of configuration when it comes to like, setting up the process itself. Okay. There we go. And here in my variables, I just set up like, what type of process that I want. Like I would have my documents in here. And sorry about that. I just wanted to pull up the extractor. So these are the different types of workflows that comes with it. When we talked about the framework, it had all the different stages. So as you can see, the framework, the template by itself is very modular. So you don't have to build all this in one single workflow. Like you can have a very modularized solution here. And in terms of the extractor, as you can see, based on the type of the document, they can pick and choose what type of extractor you want. So here they have the regular expressions for the certificate of filing, and for the W-9, they have like a forms extractor. And for the semi-structured or like, like no structured documents, they use the machine learning, which is the receipts and the invoices, because depending on the companies, these invoices and receipts could vary the formats. So which is where the machine learning could really easily identify those fields that we want and extract those information. And okay. So I'm just gonna run this. I'm gonna pull up my orchestrator really quick.
And Priya, just so you know, Sebastian's here.
Sebastian's here. Okay. Let's go ahead with Sebastian first, and we'll come back to this, okay?
Cool, thanks. Can anybody or everybody hear me, see me?
Yes.
Perfect. Let me quickly share my screen, and I think this is what we want to go for. Can anybody see the screen?
Not yet. There we go.
Good, perfect. So maybe as a quick pulse check, I guess Priya does a very good job to go deep on the tech side of the house. By the way, do you see full screen or is it presenter mode?
Full screen, not presenter.
It's full screen?
It's on
the present mode.
Yeah.
Switch. Now you should see it full screen then, is it?
Yes.
Good, terrific. So I guess there's now a little bit of a pivot here, and I hope you guys are ready for that. So Diana and Priya, they invited me to do a little bit more of an industry perspective, and that's the idea here. So if you tell me it's a no, that's completely fine with me. Otherwise, I'm gonna leave it for Priya to later on go deeper on the tech side, and this will be more like a perspective on what are manufacturing companies doing with our automations. And that would be, I'd say, I go fast on the slides, super happy to have discussion with you guys if you want to. That could be whatever you want to take out of it, a 10-minute, 15-minute discussion, and then I can hand it back to Priya. Is that in line with expectations here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So with that, then let's go into the presentation. So quickly, if you think about manufacturing companies, what we find is that they aim for 3 areas of automations. And that is because of their setup within a manufacturing organization. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with manufacturing organizations, but one is they really build products, and therefore we have a focus on what we call productivity as an automation theme, whereby we talk about how you source materials, how you run it through your supply chains, and how you actually produce content. And the good thing is we can show that we drive efficiency there, and we have good clients like British American Tobacco where we actually do it. Yeah. The next chapter is all around a lot of our clients use our AI-infused automations to really achieve an experience that is different or enhanced. And that could be in after sales and service, and Sharp is a very good example of that. Yeah. Third area, and that is interesting because a lot of the time AI and automation is considered to be an efficiency play and squeezing out headcount, but there is some evidence that you can even use automation to drive top-line growth, which you would typically do in marketing and sales. And a very good example that we have is Xerox. And by the way, if I say trusted by or example, all of this you can find on our homepage, where you will find all these customer names and the success stories. And the last thing that we see is that oftentimes companies like Siemens would use automations to really work on a data ingest model that is highly automated to then drive and improve compliance and sustainability. That's basically the 4 themes that we see. I said I go fast, just from a fast perspective. We did some analysis with analysts like Gartner's, Everest, IDC, and so on. And what you see here is for all these 4 themes, some good guidance and North Stars of where the opportunity sits and what is possible if you drive that with automation. And I guess Diana will send out the deck later on, so you get all the details here. For all the ones that are interested in, so what is it that you can win your clients over? And I mean that from a business perspective. This is some, and whenever you click on learn more, you can see the deep dive in the case studies and the customer success stories that we have. So in all these categories that I called out, we managed to get considerable savings, like inventory reductions. If you think about a manufacturing company, if they are able to reduce 10% of their inventory, that has a massive impact on their free cash flow. So it's just very important, and free cash flow is important because it goes together with your financing costs, and that is pure money that you talk here. And that goes for all the different themes. So we see customers that really use, like Sharp is a very good example, they use automation there, and that enables them to really resolve customer issues in after sales and service more than 40% faster. That's a very significant opportunity that you have. What we basically have is, and again, that's that idea of having these customers that we can talk about. Whenever you want to bring that to your organizations, to your clients, to your partners, whatever your spin is to the business, feel or rest assured that there's evidence behind customer success stories that we can share with you. And more importantly, it's not just customer stories, but what we have is we have a perspective on what are typically the most important cases if you think about these manufacturing solution areas. So in all the themes and all the deep dive areas, what you see here is every single bullet point here is a hero use case that we delivered with clients with more depth in there. And I stop here for a bit because it was fast. Any question, any idea, any feedback so far?
I don't see anything in chat, but if anybody would like to unmute themselves, please do.
Good. If not, I just go forward, and if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt. And by the way, if this is completely off mark and off expectation, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I just continue. You might wonder, hey.
Yeah. So these are the solutions that you are from the automation perspective, including AI and generative AI, or how is it? It's just the pure RPA-based solutions?
Yeah, and I was about to pivot in that direction, and so far it was industry specific. Now I'm gonna have that pivot in here that gonna talk about the automation role, which is still a core driver. So what we see so far is that clients continue obviously to use automations. It's just that they consume it at a decreasing level of consumption, let's call it this way. So growth kind of came down there, and that is the reason why we enriched the platform. And therefore, yes, what you see here has a component that is still in there around the automation space. But more importantly, as we go forward, we layer in specialized opportunities, specialized AI that we have, especially around like communication mining and document understanding. That's one thing. then you will see more and more AI-infused automations, where we will come up with our own like AI models with the capabilities to train them around specialized AI, and that's basically the way forward. And we already have some quite good success stories. So we did a success story with Ricoh, which is a printer manufacturer, where we did AI, including Gen AI integration for patent application in the R&D space. We worked with a manufacturer for food and beverage in the area of like sales and marketing, and how you infuse AI and Gen AI in all your sales orders and selling more. So there are promising signs, and we are signing up clients to do more of this as we go. Okay.
Thanks.
Just quickly, and I go fast here. From an automation market perspective, we are proud to be a leader on whatever analysts you consider being relevant for you. That's one. And then more importantly, we were able to launch net new products, like IDP, process mining. Test is a very successful case. And for all these new and innovative kind of platform extensions that we have, we see the same recognitions from the different analysts out there. That see us very much on the upper right-hand corner for these kind of things. I don't go for the platform, you know it better than I do, but maybe that one here would be interesting. What we basically did is we were looking into the different components of the platform, and we were thinking about where would you see it, and that is just one example. So if you go like left to right, so document understanding is something that we see very promising all around customer experience, where we see a lot of that. And one of the reasons is document understanding and comms mining is very heavy when you need to go through lots of content, and service after sales is very rich in that area because you have emails incoming, service tickets incoming, and so on, and that's a very rich area. Test Suite is super interesting, especially around our strategic partnership with SAP. We see lots of interest from clients that go specifically for Test Suite, especially on the S/4HANA transformation. Process and task mining is still a very important and very interesting thing. We see some very promising things where clients really take us to core operations, being production and production planning, maintenance, or sourcing, where you can really see bottlenecks and deficiencies very fast. AI and ML integrations, I already talked about some of them. I think that whole notion of around like maintenance, inventory, supply chain forecasting, even production optimization is a very rich area for these AI ML integrations. Low-code development, we see them especially in back office functions, as well as in functions where there is, I'd say, low-code savvy audience to work with these. And then the last thing is really that AI and API automation space. And especially for manufacturing, that's interesting because there's a lot of like legacy out there, a lot of brownfield, especially when it comes to IT, OT integration. And that's lots of the areas where we see consumption of this UI and API automation space. Okay. Good. With that, just I guess maybe one more thing, because that's something that we're very proud of. It's by now really an ecosystem around manufacturing that we've built. So there's obviously, and you know that better than I would, specific training passes to make sure that our developer community is very much trained on like core automations as well as like the new offerings that we have. Obviously, we did build up an organization on our side when it comes to professional services, as well as our customer success managers that we have, or customer delivery leads, as we call them these days. So that's interesting. Plus, you have all the premium support offerings that they are out there. And then the other thing is there's a huge community of implementation partners and tech alliances that we have. And I guess you guys from an MVP perspective would be well suited under that wider ecosystem. So with that, that's basically the wrap up from my side. Any further questions, ideas, or special recommendations, questions?
Thanks, Sebastian. I haven't seen any questions in the chat. This is a great presentation, and basically, I think what we're trying to do is show you guys, like in a vertical, how these solutions apply. So please, if you do have any questions, please open your mics and let us know.
I guess I scared them off being not that tech savvy, going for the business direction.
Oh, Sebastian, that was really, really good. I really liked it. And I know like there are different sectors that, primarily look for like solutions that are like, security based. Have you seen any customers hesitating to move towards cloud or AI, when you were first pitching with them?
So a couple of perspectives there, especially if you think about generative AI and AI as such. There's lots of opportunity that we see on building a trusted automation, almost like data engine there. And what do I mean by that? A lot of clients use us to have an auto feed into, like, let's say, large language models. And the good thing is, once you do that automatically with like automations, the benefit is you have a paper trail which is audible, plus you have something that gives you the mechanism to basically feed out everything that is sensitive, right? So lots of clients ask us that question, therefore we have that specific offering. And I guess the latest release was a deep dive in that area, and we're going to do more in that direction. And the same goes for whatever you get out of these large language models. Yeah. We had this deep dive with Rico where we went on patent application, including Gen AI. And then before you send it out to the like legislation to make sure that you get all the papers signed and that you get the IP registered, what we found is that on the outbound side, before you better send it, checking what comes out of the model, given that they sometimes hallucinate, it's a very good thing to run these checks as well. So that's a very promising thing. We see a lot of like success in that area towards cloud, although I must say there is still some hiccups, let's put it this way. So not all the cloud migrations that I'm aware of were very smooth. Yeah, so I guess there's still some opportunity to make that journey from on-prem to cloud smoother. But still there is still an interest for clients to stay off cloud for whatever reason. Yeah. And we still cater to that. It's just that you get a different refresh cadence and whatever comes with that. I haven't seen that much of a security hesitation. And the reason is, if we deliver, it basically becomes something that the client owns and hosts. And therefore, we are basically, at least to my knowledge, but I'm not a security like geek there, we are off the hook when it comes to the security and the security coverage that we need to give, because we basically hand it over and clients have to build it in a secure environment. But I haven't heard of any secure breaches that would go through automations. It's almost like with workers, right? A secure workplace is something where you trust the employee, and the same thing is for the bots and the automations. So I haven't seen any hesitation in that direction.
Awesome. Thank you.
Good. Perfect. And thank you for having me, both Priya and Diana. I hope I haven't scared them all off. And with that, I'd say hand over back to you, and was good to touch base. And if you have any questions, by all means, Diana, feel free to share the contact details. Happy to follow up afterwards if this is more like a silent gang and you want to debrief afterwards. Okay?
Sure. Thank you so much,
Perfect.
Sebastian.
Thank you, Sebastian.
Guys. Bye.
Bye. Okay. that was really good. And did you guys have any questions? And again, you can email Diana, like if you remember, like post session, like she'll be happy to like, help anybody. And this is an ongoing community. So if you have like any other questions or like what more topics you would like to see, again, reach out to Diana and we can go ahead and schedule that for the next couple of sessions as well. So, going back to our framework, so now that we know like how it was used in manufacturing and like what are the benefits, like Sebastian really walked us through like what is the overall like benefit when it comes to each organization. So those were like pretty good use cases. And they all like probably built one of these templates. So let's just run this and see like what the output looks like. And again, like bear with me because like my virtual machine could be like sometimes slower. So that just takes a while. So we're just gonna run this and you can see it's gonna pull up the output tab just to keep this rolling. Okay, so it's gonna go through like all the steps that we talked about. It's gonna load the taxonomy and digitize the document. And the document that we are looking at is the merge document that's gonna have the W-9, the invoice, the receipts, and the certificate of filing all together. So as you can see in the output tab, it's going to show you like an output that says like it's digitizing the merged document. So you can tell like which document is processing currently. So you can keep a track of what's going on. And I'm going to pull up my orchestrator. So from the orchestrator standpoint, like from the automation portal, we are going to take a look at the document understanding and like also have a look at the action center because that's where like the actions are going to be for validation. So this sometimes takes longer than the studio. Hold on. And I know this is still processing. So this is still digitizing. So as you can see, it was able to classify and it had like classified all the different types of documents. And we are just looking at the logs on what's going on, right? So as you can see, it actually like classified based on what it was able to identify, but it still needs a validation because that's how it's currently configured to ask for the humans whether it's right or not. And this is where the human in the loop comes in. And in this case, it's going to go to the action center. For some odd reason, my computer is like, okay, it's really slow. There we go. This is the action center. And it should have the actions, which I'm just refreshing. That's taking a while. I'm just going to close all these different tabs. Sometimes just starting a brand new fresh one really works. Hopefully. So now if we go to the action center, we should have an action that is like in a unassigned state, which we're going to pick up those action. And again, action center gives out list of actions that could be assigned to anybody in your team. So this goes to the business side. So whoever's doing that specific role can pick up those actions, or you can have like a COE team that actually like takes a look at that specific process. But mostly we would recommend using the business because they know the actual process. Yeah. Sometimes that's really, really odd. I wish I could show you really quick, but when the action center loads up, we will see that. And once I assign those actions to myself, like imagine I'm the SME for that process, I would pick up those actions, validate like whether each documents are correctly classified based on like the rules that were defined in the taxonomy. And once that is done, then I give back the process. As soon as it's completed, I would just like click run and it would continue running. Okay. So right now it's still stuck. I'm so sorry about that. And once the process continues, it's just going to extract and it's going to create 4 more actions for the extraction. and we can actually validate the fields. So this is where you could actually specify like whether the fields are correct, because sometimes in the picture an M might look like an N. So which is where you can actually like type in the data, put the right data, say yes, save it. And once that's done, you can give back the process to the studio for it to extract the data and export it. Okay, so that's pretty much the simple thing.
So Priya, you actually have a question. Can you please explain about where we are providing the inputs, documents, invoices in this built-in template?
Yes. So just a second. Sometimes this really. This is the data, so we'll go to this. This have like. My machine's like acting up really slow. There we go. Oh, it came up, so I'm just going to show you the variable. Target. Sorry, just a second. Just have a variable with that name. That's not loading it. But anyway, like I was gonna show you the whole the queues. So you can actually like upload your documents to the queues, create a queue where you're gonna like use it. Or in this case, I'm just using a local document like which I have on my folder. So I'm just gonna go to this argument and specify like, and if the most important thing is like if you're using queues, like say true, but if you want to use like a local file, just specify the file name here, and you can just set this to false. So turn off queues and then like input the target file here. Does that answer your question, Ajita? See if this loaded. Wow. I know it's probably my network. Sometimes it happens with my network that it just doesn't allow the VPN to go through for the virtual machine. I may just have to restart this, but if you all have used action centers, that's a really cool tool where you can look at like how the actions come in. I'm gonna probably click this and start all over. And any other questions that you guys have? Okay, I'm gonna show you like what the data looks like. So once this is all done, let's say like you've assigned all the actions, you've validated them, then the robot processes it, and then the document understanding gives it to you in an exported form. So these are the data that's been exported. So when I ran this process earlier, like it actually exported this data. So the very first file that was there was the certificate of filing. So it picked up the file number, the date, and the effective date, and also like which state was it. So this is for the certificate of filing, and this is because of the taxonomy that was defined depending on like what type of fields that you want, right? And now like I'll open another document which was also in that merge documents, and this one is the receipt or the invoice actually. So in this invoice, it's actually looking at what's the name and the address and all the different files. Oh no, this is the W9. Yeah, and this is the W9 where it actually picked out like all the different fields that were given. And now you can take this because this is now in a simple format that your RPA process could understand. You just need to feed this as input for your outbound process in the next automation. So it's as simple as that. So it just picks up all these values. So as you can see, this is an invoice that was given. So it gives you the billing, who's the vendor, who's all the data that we define. And again, like these are the fields that we wanted for our process. Okay. So you can change like what different fields you want. You want like less number of fields, you want more data. You can actually define all of this in the taxonomy and make sure that this is being like captured using the action centers and the validation as well. So that's all we had for today. Any questions?
Thanks, Priya. Great job. And if anybody does have any questions, like Priya said, even post this event, please just reach out to me. There is one more question. What's the difference between the Clipboard AI and DU? And Clipboard AI will be copying and pasting the data. Similarly, we're running an unattended bot here.
Okay, so in terms of Clipboard AI, that basically is like looking at like what you do on a day-to-day basis and like getting all the data from what you're looking at, versus document understanding is where like you use the AI capabilities to give the documents and you train the document over time. So with document understanding, you basically define like whether the document is structured or not. Even it could be like a handwritten note that can still be read. Versus with Clipboard AI, like you need to have those specific fields that you're looking at, and your system also needs to match that.
Great. Great. Well, if you guys have any other questions, please reach out. And thank you for attending today's session. We really appreciate it. And we look to, again, don't forget to send me any topics you'd like to hear about on our next chapter meeting.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much.
Priya. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.